Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Director's Cut, a podcast by the Directors Guild of America, featuring today's top directors sharing behind-the-scenes stories of their latest films and insights into the craft of directing. Please take a second to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Peter Bogdanovich's new documentary, The Great Buster, which chronicles the life and works of the influential filmmaker and comedian Buster Keaton. Interspersed with interviews with collaborators, filmmakers, performers, and friends, the film examines Keaton's career as the director, writer, producer, and star of his own films, as well as the loss of artistic independence and career decline that marked his later years. The Great Buster was screened as part of the DGA's documentary series, which aims to spotlight groundbreaking nonfiction films for DGA members and guests by presenting screenings of documentaries as well as conversations with their directors. In addition to The Great Buster, Mr. Bogdanovich's filmography includes the feature films What's Up, Doc?, Paper Moon, and She's Funny That Way, the movies for television Prowler, The Price of Heaven, and The Mystery of Natalie Wood, and episodes of the series Fallen Angels and The Sopranos. He was nominated for the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Motion Pictures and the Academy Award for Best Director for his 1971 feature, The Last Picture Show. Following the DGA screening of the film at the Harmony Gold Theater in Los Angeles, Mr. Bogdanovich spoke with director Chuck Workman about filming The Great Buster. During their conversation, Mr. Bogdanovich discusses why silent films are so good at comedy, his desire to not leave the audience crying, and what makes Buster Keaton such a unique director.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, how are you, Peter? And so glad you got to make this film. And
so am I. I love Buster. You know, I think he was the first. He was either the first or the second movie I ever saw. My father took me to the Museum of Modern Art. And, when I was a kid, when I was 4 or 5, 6 years, 7 years old, and I saw Keaton and Chaplin and Lloyd, and it was great.
That's
great
where
stuff.
It was down in the basement, the theater. A friend of mine became a filmmaker because he went to the bathroom down there, and then he wandered into the art films at the Museum of Modern Art. And
it was. I grew up with that. Arthur Kleiner played the piano. And you could be lulled by the sound of subways going by,
of course,
above you.
Speaking of that, Arthur Kleiner and the music was quite something. I mean, it was totally scored and like a silent film, but even better than a silent film, more like a contemporary film. Very, very carefully done, very good, careful sound design. That looked like it took a lot of work and a lot of trouble.
I had a brilliant editor, Bill Berg-Hillinger. He's just great, and he's worked with me on a couple of things, including the Tom Petty documentary I did, and the last film I did. And he's a great cutter, and a lot of that music he found. I don't even know where the hell he found it. He's great.
Yeah, it was amazing. So it was not an original score. It was all stuff that he dug up.
He found it. It was all free, too. He was amazing, amazing cutter.
And also, I'm sure that everybody felt this. I'm not sure, but they should have, I think, is coming back to those great features at the end, rather than doing it chronologically, was kind of a great idea. I mean, it like brought you into the classics. So many filmmakers, as you know better than anybody, have their moments. If you look at the other films you've made about John Ford or books you've written, they have their decade, or they have their 20 years, or they have their 5 years, whatever it is. And to come back to that, I think, and leave us with that, and not, although a very poignant moment when he died, was quite a smart idea.
I think it was the one good idea I had.
Well, it was good enough.
I had that idea, and I said, I don't want to, there's an old show business maxim, always leave him laughing. And I didn't see going out on a Buster Keaton movie, everybody crying because he's died. I didn't want us to do that. And luckily, for me, in terms of storytelling, a year before he died, the Venice Film Festival did a tribute to Buster. And as I said, and it was very popular. And he received the longest standing ovation in the festival's history. I think it still hasn't been broken, that record. Something like 10 minutes. And I remember when I was in Venice with Owen Wilson, we showed a picture there, and after it was over, the audience stood up and applauded for a long time. They looked, and we're just standing there, Owen and I, and some of the rest of the cast, staring at the audience, and they're just applauding. You know, it's kind of a strange thing to play. They're applauding, and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. And Owen turns to me, and he whispers, he says, "Do you think this is like Stalin? They have to do this?" But anyway, I love working on this. This was great fun. Oh, the ending with this. So the idea was not to leave the audience crying, but rather, and I was obviously happy that Venice had done this, because plot-wise it gives me an excuse.
Of course, yeah. And I just, in passing, Jim Caron, who described when Buster was dying in a very wonderful, poignant moment, died himself a couple months ago, unfortunately.
He's a very nice guy.
And he was a great guy, and we've all seen him in a million movies. I'm so glad that he got involved in this, because I know that he was close with Buster.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy.
But how did you come up with like Johnny Knoxville and
well, he did a lot of stunts, and he's well known for doing those kind of crazy stunts. So we thought, let's see if he was influenced at all by Buster, and he was. Very nice guy, by the way. And there's that wonderful thing when the building falls on him.
Yeah.
My editor found all those imitations of that joke. I couldn't believe there was so many of them.
Oh, of course,
I just didn't know anybody had done it. It's amazing.
And do you think that Buster Keaton's films have influenced your films?
Well, I think when I made What's Up, Doc, I said to everybody, we're doing a Buster Keaton chase, which was presumptuous of me to say that, but that was what I had in mind, was a Buster Keaton kind of chase, and it was quite a long chase. But I don't know that Buster ever did exactly that kind of chase, but it was in the spirit of silent films, which were funnier than any of other films subsequently made. The great thing about silent pictures, you didn't have to wait for the laugh, so you could build laughs on it. You could keep laughing. You could build to a hysteria of laughter that you never could do in talking pictures, because you have to wait to hear the line to get the laugh.
Oh, well, for the next line, you mean?
Yeah,
I understand.
It's building a kind of hysteria out of laughs, because you have nothing to interfere. First of all, there's no color to distract you. Eyes, beautiful hair. None of that distracts you, because it's black and white, and silent, so anybody can understand it. And you don't have to wait for laughs. It's ideal for comedy. Let's go back to silent pictures.
People try, and it works a lot of times.
Yeah.
Did you, in your career, did you run into people who could do that kind of physicality at all? I mean,
John Ritter.
John Ritter, amazing.
John Ritter was amazing.
Yeah.
He was also a dear. Yeah, give him a good hand. He deserves it. He deserves 10 hands. He was one of the great men. A dear friend of mine. I loved him. I did 3 pictures with him. And he was amazing. He could do anything. We did a picture called They All Laughed in New York, and he had a roller skating sequence. He had to roller skate. And in order to be bad at roller skating, you have to be good at it. And otherwise you could fall down, and that's the end of the scene. But he could do anything with the roller skates. He was brilliant. And John had a physicality that was amazing. We did a picture called Noises Off. He had to fall down a flight of stairs. Thank you. It was a great play by Michael Frayn. And John had to fall down the stairs. He didn't even he barely padded. He fell down the whole flight of stairs. I don't know how he did it, frankly. Luckily, we only did it once. He got it right. Oh, John. But John is about the only one that had that kind of physicality.
Okay, I just want to change the subject to one thing. Because you know so much about film history, especially American film history, that I wanted you to just briefly make a comparison between Keaton and Chaplin. And for so many years, until recently even, this film was helping it. Chaplin was considered the great master, and Keaton was like the number two man to some people, and other people not. And yet we still watch them both in a certain way. But do you think they had the same kind of way of attracting an audience, excuse me, and getting their laughs?
That's an interesting, it's a good question. It requires a book to answer it, I think. But
I'm sure there are plenty of academic books.
Yes. I like Keaton better because he's not sentimental at all. Chaplin is quite sentimental, and that's what dates him. I love Chaplin. He's funny, and he's also touching. But Keaton first of all, Keaton was a better director. He put the camera in the more interesting places, and always the right place. Somebody once said to Chaplin, Mr. Chaplin, your shots are not very interesting to look at. He said, they don't have to be, I am interesting. Which is correct. But there's a kind of Victorian sentimentality in Chaplin that you don't have in Keaton. So Keaton seems to be more modern.
Yeah, and also speaking of that, so I'm wondering what it is. You bring it up in the film at the very end about, or actually one of your interviewees brought it up, that how Keaton is able to stay in modern and will be for 100 years, I think he said in the interview. And some don't. Some people, some silent stars who are great stars don't. So I know you don't have the answer, but what would be your answer
I think,
to that?
I think he just was more modern than not. There's nothing old-fashioned about most of those jokes. All right, and then the other thing is he was dark. He had a dark sense of humor. So he was constantly making fun of dangerous things, like a feud where he's going to get shot. I think it's terribly funny. They shoot at him and he looks around and wonders what that is.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's so funny.
Well,
I think it boils down to that he's modern because he deals with dark things in a funny way and isn't sentimental. And this is certainly not a sentimental age that we're in.
Well, that's interesting. The thing I was thinking about was a lot of the people that we admire today, whether it's Keaton or Wells, or we could mention others, Kubrick even, were fighting the establishment a lot and suffered from it to some extent. So what are we going to do about that?
Well, I don't know. It's too late to help Orson. Well, it was, oh God, it's such a complicated situation because the studio system has collapsed, so it doesn't exist anymore, so nobody knows what that was like. But it was actually a very intelligent way of making films because everybody was under contract. You go to make shoes, you've got leather, you've got the shoelaces, you've got the heels. In a movie, making a movie is much tougher. You got to have a lot of people. And if you have them under contract, it's easy. If you don't have them under contract, it's hell. Every picture is the first time out, So that whole studio system, which produced some of the greatest work that made in America in terms of the screen, and some of the best movie stars. But the whole idea of a movie star is different now. Movie stars today are good actors. They're, with few exceptions, good actors, but not movie stars. Because Humphrey Bogart, John Wayne, Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, they conjure up a personality. You hear that name, you think of maybe some movie that you like, particularly them. But the whole idea of movie stars at that period, that whole long period, 50 years, is that the character and the actor, the actor erased the line between himself and the character. He wasn't acting, he was being. And that's a great thing about movies that you can't get on the stage. You can get it in movies only, is this idea that an actor isn't acting, he's being. So it's John Wayne. John Wayne does the same thing every time. Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah.
Bogart is similar in every picture. But he's good. And you're interested in the... Cary Grant, who was the most extraordinary movie star, I think, was able to do comedy and drama, had extraordinary... Look at the difference between, say, His Girl Friday and Bringing Up Baby. Same director, 2 years apart, totally different performance, totally different comic performance. It was a much richer time than we have today. We don't have a rich time right now at all. Only movie stars left are Streisand and Eastwood. Real movie stars. And Clint, did you see The Mule? Anybody see The Mule? Yeah, it's not great, but I just love Clint. He's 87 and he's made two pictures. And it gives us, it's very encouraging for us who are a little bit older.
Encouraging for us all, that's exactly right.
I said to David Chase, he said, I'm getting older. I don't know, the guy who did The Sopranos. I'm getting older, I don't know, Peter. It's kind of tough. I said, well, Clint's 85. This was a couple of years ago. He said, yeah, Clint is good for all of us.
As many of you may know or may not know, Peter's written some very interesting books of interviews with famous directors, Who the Devil Made It, and famous actors, Who the Hell's in It, and many other books and articles and stuff like that. So it's not just a good filmmaker making a film about Buster Keaton. It's an expert on American cinema, as I said before, making these kind of films. Quite an expert who spent a lifetime looking at this stuff. And I just wanted to say that on seeing it again here, that the intelligence of the narration was very helpful, I think, to people to understand what's the point when you brought out there was one take, when, et cetera. And I assume that was purposeful, and you didn't think anybody would like it but you, but I'm glad you did it.
No, I thought it was helpful to the audience to see that and to tell them that. And also, the guy who runs Cannes, Terry Fremont, after he saw the picture, he called me up. He said, I really liked the fact that you narrated it yourself, because it made it very personal, even more personal. And I wanted it to be personal. I also wanted it to be a little bit more casual in terms of the narration. That's why one of the reasons we jumped back to the 10 years, to the 10 features at the end, was because I could do that within my narration,
Was that a long period of time for you to do that and write that and figure that out and come up back afterwards and change things and that sort of thing?
I pretty much wrote it straight through. But the difference between a fiction film and a documentary is, with a fiction film, you write the script and then you shoot it. With a documentary, you shoot it and then you write it, because you don't know what you've got until you've shot it, as you know, as you very well know. So I didn't know what anybody was going to say, and until I got it, I couldn't really cut the picture or even write it. But then the writing, I think, was the construction that you see, and it didn't take me that long to write the narration. I don't think. I don't remember, frankly. Maybe
they say Werner Herzog goes in a closet in his editing room and looks at the scene and then does a few narrations and brings it back and they record it.
That's interesting.
But it was very apt to the narration. There's so much bad narration in documentaries that we've grown up watching. And
well, I thought since I made the thing, that might as well take the audience through it,
Yeah, but that'll set a bad example for people who don't know anything to
That's
make
true.
bad films. Let me see if there's any questions out there for Peter. Yeah.
That's an interesting question, but it gets into the whole thing about silent movies and the speed at which they're shot and the speed at which they're played. And that's a very complicated issue. It's not that complicated, but it's not that interesting to people. But the fact of the matter is, between 1915, let's say, and 1929, with the beginning of sound, all sound, they cranked the movies. They mostly hand cranked the movies at the beginning, and they used to crank between 12 and 22 frames per second, somewhere in between there. Like, for example, I saw Robin Hood, Alan Dwan's, Douglas Fairbanks' Robin Hood, which was made in 1922, I think. And I saw it was terribly slow. And it was shot at, let's say, 20 frames per second. And it was shown at 15 frames per second. which slows it down terribly, and it's unwatchable almost. Well, so you'd have to really find out what the picture was cranked at, shot at, and then projected at that with a projector that has variable speed. It's hell. You can't run a silent movie the way it's supposed to be easily. Can't do it easily. But a lot of the films were not jerky. It was smooth. The jerkiness comes from being projected at the wrong speed, really. That's why.
Anybody else? Yeah, right here.
What did you learn about Keaton that you didn't know when you started?
I think the most interesting thing was I can't remember who said it, but I can't remember now which one of them said it, but that he was so mild-mannered that he said, if I'm worth more, they'll pay me more. He wasn't a prima donna in a funny way at all. I found that to be very touching, actually, and sort of heartbreaking that he didn't think that much of himself, that he would stand up and say, "I'm Buster Keaton, for Christ's sake. Look at what I've done. What have you done?" You know. Louis B. Mayer was famous for screwing up comedy. They didn't understand comedy. Comedy is very hard to do, by the way. People ask me about what's harder to do, drama or comedy. I tell them comedy's tough, because if they don't laugh, you can't. There's no excuse. They didn't laugh. It didn't work. It's like the joke when Jerry Lewis was working with Dean Martin. It's one of my favorite lines. And it was a live show on the Colgate Comedy Hour. And Jerry made a joke or something, had a line, and didn't get a laugh. The audience was there. He turned to the audience and said, "Let's face it, people, these are the jokes." Let's face it, people.
So you got to laugh. Yell in the center there.
I don't think so. I don't know that he did. I can't say that he didn't. I didn't come across that.
And did other people acknowledge him, to other filmmakers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah.
And contemporary ones? Or
Yeah, you know, I had an actress, I can't remember which one, many actresses and actors I've said this to. If you can play comedy, you can do anything. And I think that's true, because comedy is the toughest thing to do. I remember Edmund Gwenn, who played Kris Kringle in The Miracle on 34th Street, a very good actor, Edmund Gwenn, Teddy Gwenn they called him. And he was dying at the Motion Picture Country home. And his friends went out to see him. "How's it going, Teddy?" they said. And he said, "It's tough. It's tough, but not as tough as comedy."
Yeah, right there.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know how to answer it. I didn't like the John Ford documentary when we made it in 1971. It came out in 71. And for years, I wanted to redo it. I just didn't think it was good enough. And I did finally get the opportunity to redo it in 2006, I think, with Turner Classic Movies and Kennedy Marshall. They threw in, and Warner Home Video. They all threw in a little bit of money, and we did a new version, which I much prefer. And that's the one that's available on cassette. On cassette, that dates me. On DVD. I said that the other day, video cassette. Somebody looked at me strangely.
If you haven't seen that John Ford film, it's really interesting. And I'll let Peter do the John Ford voice, but the very famous clip in it is when Peter asks him, "How did you shoot that?"
And Jack says, "With a camera."
And it's a very reliable clip for me. I use it all the time when I need a laugh.
Ford was very perverse, and very funny, actually. Irish, black Irish humor. I would go visit him when he was between pictures, and he spent most of the time between pictures in bed, watching TV, news or Western most often. And I would go up there and sit next to his bed in a director's chair, and his valet would bring me some juice, apple juice or something, and I'd try to make conversation with Ford. He liked me, he tolerated me, but he acted like he didn't. And I said to him, one day I was trying to make conversation. So I said, "It's Duke's birthday next week. I thought I'd give him a present. I thought I'd give him a book." "Huh?" I said, "It's Duke's birthday next week. I thought I'd give him a present. I thought I'd give him a book." "Huh?" Now, Ford was a little deaf. But when he wanted to really humiliate you, he would make you repeat the same thing 5 or 6 times, pretending to be stone deaf. Now, there's no sentence that you can think of in any language that doesn't sound ridiculous after about 6 times at ever-increasing volume. So finally, I'm yelling, "It's Duke's birthday next week. I thought I'd give him a present. I thought I'd give him a book." Duke is John Wayne, by the way. And Ford looks at me and he goes, "He's got a book."
Good.
Which was also a comment on Duke's, quote, intellectual capacity, but which isn't fair at all, because Wayne was quite smart and very likable, but Ford liked to make fun of him. He said, "I love that damn Republican."
Okay, one more question. One more.
When he was shooting. One more Ford story. When he was shooting Cheyenne Autumn, I was there in Monument Valley with him for 3 weeks, doing a piece for Esquire. This was in 1963. I was 63. Yeah, 63. I was about 25. I'm 24, and I'd never been on a set before, and so they did this stunt. The stuntman rode down toward the camera, stopped, and he jumped off the horse. Before the horse stopped, he jumped off the horse, landed on his feet, and handed a message to Dick Widmark. And Ford said, "Cut it, that's well," which means print it. And now I was standing near him, right next to him, 2-3 feet away. He turns to me now for some unknown reason and says, "How about that?" I didn't know what the hell to say, so I said, "Yeah." That looked difficult. He looked so disgusted with me. He just looked at me like this. "I'd say it was difficult, yes." And he turned and walked 3 steps away, and he turned to me. "I'd say it was very difficult." So I said, I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to go near him for a while. And so I went as far away as I could. It's a big area, it's like and about 5 to 10 minutes later, they did another stunt, something, and Ford yells out, "Bogdanovich!" Oh, shit. So I run over to him. "Yes, Mr. Ford. Yes. Did that look difficult to you?" I said, "Yes, Mr. Ford. I just wanted to see if you thought that was difficult." "Yes, Mr. Ford." He did that for the next 2 weeks. "How about that? Difficult?"
I think we have to stop, but that's a good place to stop.
There's some more questions.
More questions. Yeah, we have time? Oh, they said we can have a little more time. So here's another question.
I just finished 2 of them, 3 of them. Frank Marshall did a documentary. Morgan Neville did a documentary, the one you're mentioning. And we finally got the picture cut and open. I think that's it for Orson for a couple of years. Moving on, Orson. I've done a book about him already. By the way, that question about documentaries that I didn't quite finish answering. The Ford documentary, I'm very happy with it now. It's out on Warner Home Video. And it's called Directed by John Ford, and it's completely different, although we have all the good stuff from the first cut, the interviews with Wayne, Stewart, and Fonda, and Ford. But we have new interviews with Spielberg and Scorsese and me. I interviewed myself. And it's a much better documentary, much more, it gives you a better picture. Then the other one I did was on Tom Petty, which I was very happy to do. I love Tom. Yeah, go ahead, he's a great man. It's called Running Down a Dream. We spent 2 years on that. And I loved working with Tom. We worked very closely together. He pretended that he had nothing to do with it, but we worked very closely together. And I loved it. It was 3 hours, We won a Grammy. Best long-form video. I said, long-form? You ain't kidding. 3 hours. Used to be 5, but we cut it down to 3. It holds your interest. And then we did this one. And that's about it. I don't think I've done any others.
Well, I think in terms of the question about the modern documentary, I think you did it, you maybe not even realizing that having kind of a different shape to it, that was where you were thinking about the modern audience and what they were doing and giving it almost a feature feeling, a narrative feeling sometimes, is what the modern documentary is, as opposed to what it used to be, So you did it anyway.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I did it unknowingly. Unknowingly. Anyway, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. You can find past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you're enjoying our show, please take a moment to rate and review us on iTunes. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow cinephiles find the show. Thanks again for listening, and have a great week. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.